We've taken the radio show on the road. That's right. The River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios have taken us out to Memorial Gym, historic Memorial Gym, where the ghosts of Don Haskins' past is alive and kicking tonight for the UTEP volleyball team as they get ready for the NIVC championship, as they'll be battling it out in 3 hours in a packed house. Pandemonium will be taking place out here as they get ready to battle it out with Wichita State. In fact, I see Roberto, I see Eddie. I know the camera crew is ready to go for ESPN Plus and Duke Keith tonight calling the action. Excited about that, and excited about us being here. And Adrian, excited about you being a part of it here today on set. And that means only one thing: Danny Pedroza. Thank you, Danny, the man who allows us the opportunity to get you out here today. Danny, we appreciate that. Adrian, terrific seeing you. You've got your UTEP flannel, Don Haskins-esque shirt on tonight. He would be proud of you because he wore that all the time during his post-game media scrums when he was kidding about what we're going to be having happen here in just a matter of hours.
So this is the calm before the storm. We are here at Memorial Gym. I was talking to my dad last week, and he was just explaining to me when this place got packed for things like basketball in the 70s, it felt historic. It felt like it was just the place to be. It felt like the loudness of this arena back in the 70s was infectious because you got a chance to be in here, and the energy at Memorial Gym for all the fans who packed it for basketball was insane. And you fast forward here to 2023, we're talking about a championship matchup of an NIVC showdown between UTEP and Wichita State. The first time UTEP has ever been in a situation like this in their program history, led by their coach Ben Wallace and their resilient team. In fact, this season, this is their 15th game tonight at Memorial Gym. Don't need to go to Don Haskins, Steve, because it's all right here. The magic has happened here all season long. They're 14-0 this season at Memorial Gym. Why would you want to go elsewhere when you could do it in the place that you've had so much success all season long?
And let's be honest, as we've heard from a lot of people that are connected not just to this program but to college volleyball, nobody draws like this. I mean, you have not had any school in this tournament like we have right now. In fact, it's going to be happening, and I mean, we were here last week broadcasting the show, and then that was electric. Tonight is just going to be out of this world. It is going to be out of this world when these two get a chance to hook up. It's going to be fantastic.
You think about it, it's back-to-back games of them selling out the Memorial Gym, and you also talk about the success they've had in the NIVC tournament. They've actually only lost 3 sets in 4 games throughout the NIVC. That's so impressive for UTEP volleyball. I mean, that just shows you the dominance they've had since losing to Western Kentucky. This team has been absolutely rolling at home throughout this tournament.
Oh, my God. You're not kidding. Anyway, I'm excited. So, it's going to be great for the kids. It's going to be great for the fans. I've got my son coming tonight. He's taking a friend. And by the way, I paid for my tickets. I'm proud of that. That's the coolest thing about it, too. I've paid for volleyball tickets a couple of times this year when we've gone. And, it's like, come on, for $10, $12, forget the comps. This is what it's all about, trying to support the program, support the team. Truth is this, we do get part of the perks of the job is, folks, we get free tickets to UTEP games. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. When you're the radio affiliate, that's what comes with the territory, and it's great. But not tonight, and not like it should be. If you want to go and you want to attend the match, have a chance to pay for it. And that's really what it's all about. And fans didn't care. They sold this thing out in a matter of in less than an hour. 40 minutes is what we heard.
Yeah, and now they're promoting the Memorial Maniac shirts that they're going to be having in support of UTEP volleyball. So minor fans with a donation of $20 or more tonight, they'll get a chance to receive that Memorial Maniacs t-shirt, celebrate the great season that this UTEP volleyball program has had. I mean, what a ride, right, Steve?
Yep.
You talk about how this team could have been derailed through injuries in the first month, in the second month, all the way up to this tournament, really, where they've actually suffered some injuries and some adversity that's come their way. But despite that, they've pushed past that. That's been the narrative all season long, and it's fueled by the fans who've come out here and supported out at Memorial Gym throughout the entire season. So I'm ready for this place to get packed. I'm ready for some volleyball, and ready for people to wear those Memorial Maniac shirts that they're doing, $20. So bring your $20 with you to the game.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. And by the way, appreciate Town Square Media with a little love on Twitter X, showing Ben Wallace and a pair of players, Sakira and Ali, were both with Iris today. They did the media tour. They did Buzz, and then they went right to Iris on Kiss and ended up getting a really nice photo op that our radio station group sent out to the entire cluster of stations. So
nice.
That is very cool.
Hey, I appreciate the shout-out. Town Square Media. Good
we
stuff.
do too. So yeah, this is the storyline. This is the game of games. This is what we've been waiting for. And I'll say this again, okay? Tonight is a great example of, and really the last couple of weeks, okay, how badly this city wants a winner. Let's put it this way. I mean, you're going to put 3,600 or whatever they can fill inside Memorial Gym again for the third consecutive match. And that right there is a sign of how this community will support a winning team in this city. They will. They'll support a winner. And by the way, I've had a lot of people ask about the Haskins Center. Why didn't they put this in the Don? Why aren't they playing in the Don? Once again, the Don Haskins Center is not equipped for volleyball. It's just not. And even though there's been matches in the past, this has been the home for quite some time. This is truly the home court advantage for UTEP. And knowing how this arena will be tonight, you want to give your school the best possible chance to win. And by the way, the fact there's only 3,600 and not every fan got to get a ticket, that's a good thing. That means there's demand for the product. That means that there are more fans that want to go than there are seats. It's just like when the Stars and Coyotes played an exhibition hockey game at the event center, which held about 2,500 fans. People were like, well, why couldn't they play that in the Coliseum? Well, that wasn't the purpose of the match. The match is to play in the same arena that holds the club that won the promotion, not to go to a bigger facility across right next to it. Same exact situation here. Give your fans that have been going a chance to enjoy it and make this arena, this historic arena, rock again in a setting that is reminiscent to what this place would have been like in the 60s and 70s.
Look, the season ticket holders had the advantage, the first dibs to get their tickets. They're going to be coming out here tonight in full force, as they should be. Everybody else who got a chance to get tickets, well, they're part of the exclusive group as well, who got a chance early to capitalize on purchasing those tickets. I've been hit up throughout the past couple days asking for tickets, also asking about the Memorial Gym versus Don Haskins Gym topic. I'll just say this. If they've played every game here, if they're 14-0 here at Memorial Gym, how could the narrative shift to go over to the Don Haskins Center where it's unfamiliar, they've never played a game out there, they're not used to practicing out there and stuff like that? That's not really the true home court advantage. This right here is the home court advantage. They're inside their own locker rooms. They know this building inside and out. Let them play here. I mean, it's where they feel best at, and I think that for what it is, for how many people will be here, it will be an intimate yet feisty and energetic crowd throughout the game.
That's right. That is absolutely right. If you want to weigh into the show, you can do it. So we got a lot of ways to go. You can go on the phones, 505-6009, 505-6009. You can also get into the program on Twitter X at 600 ESPN El Paso. That is at 600 ESPN El Paso, or message us on our mobile app where you can listen in real time, like Paco, who just asked, any giveaway tickets for tonight's game? I was too late and far in line to buy tickets on Sunday. Unfortunately, Paco, there are no giveaway tickets. It's just the way it is. And the demand has this thing sold out Sunday. We did not have giveaway tickets for really anybody I know they released 50 earlier this afternoon or this morning. They probably sold those out in about 30 seconds, and that's just the way it is. So, unfortunately, no giveaway tickets for tonight's game.
Yeah, and I understand that, Steve. You know what? Let's not have those giveaway tickets with us. Let's have this strictly with the UTEP volleyball team so they can capitalize on the money coming their way.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I believe that's exactly the case. In fact, I'm just doing it right now just to go through the process, Adrian. I am clicking tickets for tonight's volleyball match on, thanks to the UTEP website, through the Ticketmaster portal, just to see if there are anything that is available, okay? It says here, this event does not have any available seats. So there you go. There are no available tickets for tonight's match. They are all sold out. And I saw that when you look in the seat map and you look around and there's not a single blue dot, everything is gone.
Yeah, and it's understandable. And that's all great things. This is all good stuff for the program itself. The fact that they sold out this building yet again, 3 straight of doing this right here in the NIVC, and it's something to celebrate. I mean, look, I'm looking at a 2021 banner for the NIVC championships. How about hanging another one after tonight for this UTEP program as they take on Wichita State?
And I did get word that UTEP volleyball season tickets for the 2024 season will go on sale starting tomorrow. So
great.
That is good news. So if you want to reserve your tickets for next season, knowing what this program is doing right now, you'll have a chance to do that beginning tomorrow.
That's great news for UTEP volleyball fans, especially those who have been with this team since the start. Those are the ones who've been rewarded with the tickets firsthand, those who've been with this team throughout their entire journey of a season. So that's good news for them that they'll be able to capitalize on 2024 as early as after this matchup.
That's right. That is absolutely right. So, once again, good start to the show. We've got Dr. Heather Wilson coming up with us here at just past 4:30. Excited about having her drop by. In fact, we're going to break early right after SportsCenter next segment, so we have room and time to talk to Dr. Wilson. Yeah, it's going to be a lot going on here today at Memorial Gym. Let's take our first time out. We've got Charlie 1. We got a whole lot more coming up, and we'll get you right up till 7 o'clock as SportsTalk continues live. Memorial Gym, our home, the NIVC Championship, which we'll be able to watch on ESPN Plus if you were not fortunate enough to get a ticket. That'll continue right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. $19 past the hour. Sports Talk is back right now. Checking the app. Let's see what we've got here. Pinky gets in. Texas UIL High School Football Championship week starts tomorrow. 4 days, 3 games per day on Bally Sports Southwest on DirecTV. Still bucket list item. See you at Memorial Gym tonight. Pinky going to be heading out here tonight. Probably license plates and all. You know that.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, the football playoffs are really going to heat up this weekend. Speaking of, Scotty Walden, UTEP new head coach, by the way, he's been going out and visiting a lot of these different teams throughout Texas. And in fact, he was, I think, at Texas or Austin Westlake recently. The big one is Duncanville North Shore this weekend, Steve. So let's see if he gets a chance to meet with any of those types of coaches here before or after they get ready for the Texas High School Football Championships.
No doubt about it. Hey, yesterday's show, we talked a lot about the basketball team and what happened against Oregon and where this team is headed. I think Robert, who messaged in yesterday, brought up a really interesting point, too. He said, also wanted to state it was normal that UTEP basketball would beat big-time teams in the past, playing teams like ACU that we would beat by 20 in years past. Now, ACU is at UTEP's level, it's real sad to be a UTEP basketball fan. I mean, if you want to reference the days when they would play Georgetown and Indiana and beat some of those schools in Michigan and Ohio State and some of the other programs that would come here for the Sun Carnival in those years, long before it was the tournament it is now. I get it. I mean, but you got to realize something too, Robert, and this is the facts. In the 1980s, UTEP was one of the best mid-majors in the country perennially, year after year after year. In fact, they hung NCAA tournament banners every year from 84 to 92. I mean, think about it. They were a regular for almost 10 years in a row. That's why I've called UTEP basketball in the 80s and early 90s a decade of dominance, because that's exactly what they were. And they're not that anymore. And we can look at all the reasons why it's happened, whether it was probation in the 90s, which kind of wiped away that team that just upset Kansas to go to the Sweet 16 in 92, to not having the same success recently. I mean, since Don Haskins stepped away, only 3 NCAA tournament teams. It's incredible. And really, only 3 NCAA tournament teams in 31 years. When you let that start to sink in, thank God. I mean, and the truth is this, Adrian, I was around in the 80s. I grew up in that gym. That was my home. And I that was my childhood. Legend after legend after legend, and memories that'll never leave me. But I'm also 50 years old, and I was really a teenager during a good chunk of those 80s runs. Well, understand that, unfortunately, anybody who is really under the age of probably, well, let's see, you could even go so far as to say 35, 36, 37, they didn't get to really enjoy that run when they were a kid or younger. So, you grow up and you hear the stories, but you haven't had a chance to experience that kind of success.
And I feel like they had success under Gillespie, under Barbie. They reached their peak, and then the coaches would end up going elsewhere, and then they haven't gotten to that point yet since then. I would also say this. The other interesting part about kind of looking at the UTEP history, do you feel like it's fair for from a fan's perspective to hold them to the standard that they should get into the NCAA tournament every single year?
Not
or
every
at least
year, but
compete
how about,
to try to be there?
I mean, listen, okay, I think that people have to understand that things have changed. Budgets have changed. Everything has changed, especially for UTEP. So, no, I don't believe that every year should be the expectation, but once every 3 to 5 years, absolutely. 2 years in a row, absolutely. These are things that it shouldn't be this difficult. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to be waiting 30-plus years to win a tournament game in the NCAA. Because you look at all the smaller schools that get in and upset the big boys and do win, and you look at UTEP and say, man, how has this once proud basketball program not been at those levels? Which, again, takes us back to volleyball. You're going to get 3,600 at Memorial Gym tonight to watch what essentially is an NIT final-esque game for the volleyball team, right? And everybody's talking about how great the volleyball team is this year. They didn't go to the NCAAs. They're in the NIVC, and that's exciting this community. Just imagine what would happen if the basketball team actually was able to play tournament ball with a likable club like this that fans enjoyed and got behind. For like 4 or 5 games this year, that's exactly what this city was thinking for men's basketball. The first reaction is, oh my God, this team is different. They can score. They can shoot. They can dunk. They're having fun. There's no pressure. These were all things that people were thinking. And in the last 4 games, it's completely gone back to, oh my God, this team hasn't changed. How many more years is left in Joe Golding's contract? When are we going to start looking for somebody else? He's not the answer. That is how quickly the entire conversation has shifted around UTEP basketball in the last 2.5 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I'll just remind everybody, Rodney Terry went 8-21 his first year. Second year, a winning season, just barely though, 17-15, and then the final year, the COVID pandemic shortened season, 500, exactly 500, 12-12 overall. Joe Golding went 20-14 first year, a losing season last year, 14-18 overall. This season is still left to be determined, and
right.
So I think what fans fans are holding this team to a high standard because they were sold a product in Joe Golding that would help revitalize this program, maybe get them back to that competitive angle that we're just talking about, whether you're competing to hang banners for conference titles or compete in postseason tournaments. Just 2 seasons ago in that first year under Joe Golding when they played a meaningless postseason tournament, the Basketball Classic, you could tell how many fans were really engaged with the program still at that point. They were ready to support any kind of postseason tournament, whatever it meant for UTEP, and how many people showed up to those games. Yet they bowed out in the second round. So to go back to your earlier point about the NIVC and what the volleyball team has done, you got to give them even more credit for doing this, because you have to have that kind of motivation to actually have success in these postseason tournaments within your program.
So here is why, to me, this season has a chance. If basketball doesn't turn it around, hopefully they will. Hopefully there's plenty of time. They still should turn it around. But you got to realize something, okay? They tapped into NIL this year. They didn't have that a year ago. That was brought up multiple times, that last year's roster was built with no resources. This roster was built with plenty of resources. So either A, you didn't spend wisely and get the kind of results you wanted, but think about this too, and I mentioned this on yesterday's show, Adrian, is that, there's a lot of people that are giving to NIL because they want to see results. And if you're going to spend the money, you want to make sure that at least there's some kind of a return that looks promising as a fan and a backer to the program. So the question is that hopefully they can figure things out. We received word that they're closing practice this week prior to the ACU game. Good for them. They should close it right now, because you want to know something? There are distractions. They got to eliminate them. They got to block them out. And the last thing you need are fans or media showing up this week before the ACU game this weekend, which is a huge game for Joe Golding.
Yeah, I mean, just to take it from here, Steve, there's no bigger game up to this point in Joe Golding's career than this one right here. It's his former squad, and you got to win this game if you're UTEP. I don't care what record they have. They're 6-4 right now. You take out the 3 meaningless games that they played against non-Division I opponents. You're talking about a 3-4 ball club right now that's lost 4 straight games, and they are coming off a game against Oregon in which they lost by 20+, and they did not look good in the second half whatsoever. They've got to right the ship on a lot of different things. Joe Golding helped raise a lot of funds at Abilene Christian, and a lot of funds that ended up translating into that Moody Coliseum being established for this program. So, hey, I mean, they need a big win this weekend. It's a must-win for them.
All right. We are excited about who will be joining us in just a moment. We have someone who has never been on Sports Talk. I don't know how that's even possible. It doesn't seem even right that this is the case. In fact, we normally run Sports Center at the bottom of the hour. We're not. We are going to keep it here, and we're going to have the opportunity to welcome in an individual who is been kind enough to give us some time on what will be a very, very busy late afternoon and evening here at night in El Paso, and that is the president of UTEP, Dr. Heather Wilson. First off, it is great to see you, and I really do mean this when I say thank you for taking the time out on what will be a very special evening here to join us on the show.
Well, we expect it to be an absolutely fantastic evening.
It's going to be great. In fact, I learned something this morning that I never learned. I learned that Ben Wallace's brother worked with you at the Air Force, which I didn't know. I heard that also his mom helped you when you were running for office in the state of New Mexico.
They were New Mexicans, yeah.
How is it that the entire Wallace family seems connected with you, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? This is really the 6 degrees of Dr. Heather Wilson.
Well, I live a blessed life, but Ben's been a great coach, and it really shows.
I'll tell you what else. Since you've arrived at UTEP, we've talked about how exciting this place can be when things go well in the athletics world. And We're not talking about men's basketball yet or football. We're talking volleyball. And you're seeing the results really over these last few weeks in this tournament of what the community has been like and just really how starved El Paso is to get a winning program back at UTEP.
I have to say the people in El Paso have been absolutely fantastic in the last several weeks in this tournament, and it just kept growing and growing. And in the semifinals here, it was deafening to be in Memorial Gym, and of course this is just such a great venue for this kind of sport because you're so close to the action, and volleyball is a great sport to watch. It's a great spectator sport.
It is, and this is such a likable team from really the coaching staff all the way down, and you could just tell when you see the crowd and how excited they are and how loud they are, just how passionate this community and this fan base can be.
It was great, and the team. You're right about the team. A lot of college sports, sometimes you look at them and you think, gosh, they don't seem to be enjoying themselves. But this team hasn't lost the joy of the moment, and it's really neat.
Championship game tonight against Wichita State.
Yep.
How big is this for this city, knowing that this is the sport that we're talking about for a championship for the NIVC here for UTEP? They're getting a chance to host Wichita State tonight.
I think it's great, and I think it's great that it's going to be here in El Paso, and we weren't sure we were going to get it. We could have gone to Wichita, and of course we would have gotten tried. This is a great venue, and the community has supported it, and it's just really wonderful to see. And volleyball are incredible. They are just Ben calls them grinders, right? Which makes me laugh, but they just keep on. They're really, really great athletes and great people.
I learned that you helped push for beach volleyball here at UTEP. It was something that you said, you want to kind of grow the volleyball experience and how it's gone, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that team will be able to do in years to come.
Well, part of it also, there's actually a growing community here in high school level volleyball and beach volleyball, and we knew that we have to comply with Title IX and equity in sports, and we didn't have enough opportunities for young women in sports, and that one made a lot of sense because there's a growing support for it here in the region. It was something we could build off what we're already doing well and expand opportunities for young women in athletics.
For people that were not old enough to go into this facility during Don Haskins' run in the 60s and 70s, but now are seeing Memorial Gym in a totally different light because that's exactly what this is all about, I feel like that has also been a real extra benefit of not just the tournament, but UTEP volleyball in general, because this place gets to come alive again the way it did when it was first being, hosting basketball games in the 60s and 70s.
It is, and there were a couple of folks on social media who said, "Hey, why? It's sold out. Why don't you move it to the Don?" And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the new floor in the Don is not painted for volleyball. The other one is we want the home court advantage. Our students, our athletes practice in this gym. They play the feel of this gym. We want them to have that advantage. And the other thing we want is I'd much rather have a packed Memorial Gym than a half or three-quarters filled Don Haskins because it is intense in here for our team and not for the other team.
There's also nothing wrong with having it be a tough ticket in town because when you think about demand and you realize that not everybody's going to get a chance to go, that ultimately sends the message that, hey, if you wait too long, you have a chance to miss out on something.
Although in this case, this game sold out in 48 minutes. It was just amazing. Now, we did hold the side 400 seats for students, and on Monday morning, their students started lining up at 6 a.m. to get a ticket to come to this game, which is really neat. But there will be 400 students here, and of course the students get free tickets, but the community is really supporting volleyball, and I really appreciate it.
You all had a chance to introduce a new head coach last week for football. Scotty Walden is he's got boots to the ground. He's already out recruiting, out doing a lot of different things. What was it about Scotty that you really liked?
And went with Jim Center to the interviews, and he made it clear that that's important. It's an important hire for the university, and the people who are applying need to know that the president cares about athletics and athletics the way it connects us to the community. But Scotty, I don't know if he had too much coffee, but he seems like he's that way all the time. He's a fired up kind of guy, and I think we need that. I also think he's an offensive-minded coach and tries new things, and it'll be a very fast-paced offense. Jim has looked at the film and things, and that's the way he plays. Of course, you're not talking. My role at a football game is to host our guests and cheer loudly. It's not my sport. But the other thing I really liked about him was when you asked coaches about what their approach is to student athletes and things, sometimes you kind of get lip service about being player-led teams or the importance of developing character. Scotty is not that, and that came through really strongly. He is a coach because football changed his life as a young man, and the thing that keeps him going is that opportunity to do the same for other young men. And so it's that character building that makes this coach special. Yes, he's going to play tough offense. He's going to play hard football. Everybody wants to win games. But there's a fifth quarter, and that is life after football. And I think he's the right coach for this moment.
UTEP President Dr. Heather Wilson with us here on Sports Talk. So, and if you're here, you're going to be at pretty much everything that UTEP has to offer.
It's hard because we have 16 teams,
yep.
and to me, this is the fun part of the job. It's also the part of the job where UTEP connects to the community, and I like it. But no, I don't get to every game, unfortunately.
Here's the question I have to ask, and that is, how do you find a way to continue to develop money for athletics and funding when we don't have full Sun Bowls or the Don Haskins Center, and attendance is still lagging a little bit? How can you find a way to pump money into the athletic department to where the program can stay near the top and really position itself well if attendance, which we all know is the lifeblood for the athletic economic growth, isn't there at the moment?
Well, there's two things, really. One is attendance, and you're right, that's part of it. But the other is the donations from the community and from people who support athletics and want to have, in a city like El Paso, athletic events to go to that make life more fun, where you look at your schedule and you go, what's on this weekend? And there's something on this weekend. There's something going on that's fun, and sometimes that's college athletics. And so there are people in the community who believe in that, and a lot of them are going to be here tonight.
The commencement, graduation approaching very soon for both college students and student athletes, and also the high school students who are also going to be graduating as well. What's this time of year like for you all?
Oh, not much going on. This has been a really busy semester, and it's fun. It's great to see so many good things going on at the university. We've got a great team here, not just in athletics, but in research, on the academic side of things. In enrollment in history started this fall. So we're really focused on the success of our students, on positively impacting this community in which we live and we care about, and driving discovery of public value. So it's been really busy, but I'm gonna die with a to-do list on my roof.
It's been everything you thought it would be when you first came to El Paso to really start your tenure as president?
Probably a little more than I expected, and in a couple of ways. One is, this is a really warm community, not just friendly. It is warm. It's very people. I grew up in rural New England, and unless you lived there for 3 generations, you were an outsider. El Paso's not that way. It's very warm and welcoming, and we like that a lot. So I think it's more than we expected in that way. I think the university is. I think, if more universities were in America were like UTEP, higher education would have a better reputation in this country, because we demand and strive for excellence, but we don't close our doors to those who are willing to work hard for a college degree. And we don't charge an arm and a leg for it. And that's, in the last couple of weeks, higher education has gotten beat around the head and shoulders a bit. And some of the people who've been testifying in Congress and saying things, that's not UTEP. And there's an alternative, and it's a better alternative.
I know you love flying when you have a little downtime. I know that. Will you have the opportunity to stick around here on the Sums to El Paso to take on Oregon State in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl?
I am actually going to be on a research visit that day. It's the only. I actually won't be in town for that, but I think it's already sold out. So there will be plenty of people enjoying. We're giving our tickets away to somebody. So.
Very nice. And meanwhile, 2024 is right around the corner. When you talk about next year and years beyond, where do you really see UTEP going from here? What's the next step?
Well, with respect to athletics, we want to compete for and win championships, and we will play by the rules. We run a clean program and develop young people. I rowed boats for Oxford against Cambridge. That was my sport, and I know how it can improve your life and your perspective on life and develop in young people characteristics that we want in them. The ability to, get up when you get knocked down and persist. And the way I used to explain it to people sometimes is I never won a race on race day. I won it in hundreds of hours of practice leading up to it. And life's like that, So a lot going on the research front and deepening the connection to the community in which we live. Serving this community that's what we're here for.
Facilities, you guys did a lot this past year in 2023. In the future, I know that Scotty Walden talked about locker rooms, but any other facilities on the athletic side that you'd like to talk about here for the future?
We've got a lot of things I've been focused on. We've got a lot of deferred maintenance, and we're trying to put together a plan to gather support from the legislature as well as the regents and others to start getting some of our facilities up to what our students deserve.
I know you've been aggressive with concerts in the Don Haskins Center. I'm hearing that we could see Sun Bowl concerts in the future. The money that you're able to generate from those concerts, is that really starting to pipe some extra financial support into the university?
We're bringing it back, and that money we can use. It's unrestricted, so we can use it for athletics. There's some of the money that we get from the University of Texas system that we can't. So when we came out of the pandemic, one of the things we looked at was, okay, what do we have here to make El Paso an even better place to be? And we were underusing we used the Sun Bowl for 6 days a year for football, and then the Sun Bowl and a few other things, but it is the only venue in West Texas that can seat more than 15,000 people. And so we started working more on the Don Haskins, McGoffin, and the Sun Bowl to bring acts to El Paso that were passing us by and going to Tucson. We sold out 2 concerts in August in the Sun Bowl. One was Led Zeppelin and those guys, and another one RBD, which sold out in like a day. So we packed the Sun Bowl twice. We can do this, and we can bring great acts to El Paso that, again, makes it just a better place to be. And we want we want people to come to campus and enjoy things here because we have this wonderful facility and university.
I was just in Vegas. U2 is in a residency at the Sphere, which is a ridiculous facility that they just built. It'd be great to see maybe U2 come to the Sun Bowl. They were here years ago, and that would probably sell out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a country western gal. I'd kind of like a few more of those guys to stop through here, but we're going to continue to try to use these facilities. Priority is what the students need them for and what our athletes need them for. But a facility like the Sun Bowl, that could be used a lot more to bring events to El Paso that just make El Paso a great place to live.
Favorite all-time country performer is?
Brooks and Dunn, maybe.
There you go. It's great. Yeah. That's a great act. That's a great act. I love it. Hey, Dr. Wilson, appreciate you having us. And, again, come back and see us soon so we can get some serious rowboat stories from what it was like against those Oxford-Cambridge matches when you were a grad student, all right?
Rowboat.
Or
rowboat.
We're talking rowing,
yes.
Rowing.
Yeah, but we don't call them rowboats. Those are like those wide things you go fishing in.
The rowing story, the rowing team.
Okay.
It'll be. I'm sure it was intense, but the practices had to be pretty difficult.
It was rainy a lot over there too, so there you go.
All right. Well, next time we'll get that for you. Thank you so much. That's Dr. Heather Wilson with us here on Sports Talk as we continue. Come back to wrap up hour number 1 of 3. Stay with us. We're live at Memorial Gym, 600 ESPN El Paso. Start of hour number 2 here on Sports Talk from the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Property Schoolyard Sports Studios. I'm Steve Kaplowitz along with Adrian Broadus. We got a lot more in store for you right now as we continue. Adrian, I'll say this. It's been a fun start to really what's been a 3-hour broadcast, and looking forward to really the next 2 hours as we get ready to pack this house.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this, Steve. Remember this image right here. It's hour number 2. There's no one here. The UTEP volleyball team is practicing. I predict in hour number 3, things will you'll start to feel it. Like right now, we feel a little bit of it, but it's more smiles. Everybody's loose. Everybody's just kind of warming up. After hour number 2, going into hour number 3, we're going to see players locked in. We're going to see fans start to file in, and that's when you'll start to really feel this place start to wake up here at Memorial Gym.
I would agree with that. And by the way, I think that a lot of the fans are ready to go. They're just ready to get this thing going, and that the team is excited. You know what was really cool was when the team walked into the arena for the first time, saw the shirts, the trophies, the caps for the winning team. I feel like that's what really got them juiced and excited and realizing what's coming up here for this championship.
You know what? I feel like both these teams are, despite them obviously being in the championship, obviously playing for the title to be crowned the NIVC champions, but both these teams are two of the best here in playing postseason volleyball right now, and that's one of the things that you always like to see. It's two quality squads right here. One is UTEP, the other is Wichita State. You look at just the national leaders right now. The Shockers are second in assists per set, 15.5. UTEP is third in blocks per set. UTEP has 17 aces, which is actually second best across NCAA. And then Wichita is actually third with 16 kills per set. So both of them have their own respective, accolades. When you talk about their statistical categories, both of them are the cream of the crop right here.
It's a very even matchup when you look at this on paper. From the number of victories to the style of play to the RPI rankings. I mean, realistically, these two teams are alike in a lot of ways. The only difference is going to be one team is going to be hosting this game with 3,600 screaming fans behind them, and the other team is going to come into a hostile environment as an underdog because they've got to play on the road.
Yeah, you think about it. You talk about underdog. They are. The Shockers are the underdog. UTEP is 14-0 at Memorial Gym. I said this in hour 1. I'll say it again. They are looking to win their 15th straight game at home here tonight, and that's a huge thing for these fans. How about these fans getting treated to some postseason volleyball action, and it's all coming up 7 o'clock start.
No, I can't wait. Absolutely cannot wait, and I'll say this once again. This is the place to be tonight in El Paso. And you might even go so far as to say this is the biggest sporting event. But you went a little more recent than that, Adrian. You went 2 years later with a pretty significant men's basketball game.
Yeah, I was talking about the 50th anniversary of the 1966 National Championship team. And, sad to say, Steve, some of those members who were honored and recognized back in 2016 when there was the 50th anniversary of this, some of them are no longer around with us anymore. And that's, again, tragic to even talk about. But it was an incredible honor. You think about all the people who came on to give announcements as guests throughout the game when UTEP took on Western Kentucky. And then just like the Cardiac Kids back in 1966, in that game, the Miners actually came from behind to beat Western Kentucky. So that was a sold-out crowd. Everybody was fired up to celebrate the 1966 National Championship team, and it was the 50th anniversary at that point. So I think that was probably the last really, really, really big UTEP single-game event that we could talk about here with this athletic department.
Not to mention a recorded message message that night from the President of the United States.
Yeah, President Barack Obama at the time, he had a message to the miners. Also, Nike founder Phil Knight had a message to the miners. I remember even, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat Riley had a message in that game as well. It's just like a lot of different people talking about the relevance and the significance of the 1966 National Championship team, who ended up being inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame as well, and rightfully so.
That's so true. So true. By the way, just to kind of put this into perspective, okay, if UTEP was to get in to the NCAA tournament in women's volleyball, most likely they are traveling to some regional on the road. They're not hosting it here in El Paso. In fact, the only way that could happen would be if they were hosting it at the Don Haskins Center. Let's just put it out there, because you need a large enough facility to house fans from opposing teams, media, everything else. You just can't do it here at Memorial Gym. But for this particular tournament, it is a perfect site, because you pack in, it's going to be loud, and you give UTEP the ultimate home court advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, UTEP is going to pack this place. It's going to be shoulder to shoulder. It's going to be screaming crowd. I mean, like I said in hour number one, when you talk to people who have stories about the 70s when UTEP men's basketball used to play out here, and how this place used to get packed with 5,000, now you just fast forward to 2023, it's the same thing as far as the community supporting a winner. It just happens to be a volleyball team that's gone on to play some postseason volleyball here in the NIVC.
You're right. And if you want to get into the show, we'd love to take your calls today, 505-6009. Danny will let us know, and we'll go from there, 505-6009. You can also get into the program using the mobile app, the 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app, where you can not just listen but send your questions in. I'm looking at some of the questions from last hour, which was great. Paco wanted to know about any future facility upgrades in the works for Memorial Gym. You talked about facility upgrades in general. I think it was Ben Wallace who touched on the fact that they might take some of these original wooden seats out.
Yes.
Maybe they will get those signed in some capacity and auctioned off, and then put some new seating in place here. That would, I think, would be the best advice.
Yeah, and that actually maybe you can even increase that if that ends up being the case as far as the seating, or you could just commemorate these old seats, which are awesome. I love the idea of auctioning them off and having people sign it. You know, the hardwood from the previous court of the Don Haskins Center, I'm seeing some of that, still pieces of that out there. That's still pretty cool to see.
Are you talking about the first time that was sold when Don Haskins was still alive, or are you talking about the most recent hardwood from last season?
Most recent from last season. In fact, the center court is like hanging right before you go to the restroom area in the tunnel of the Haskins Center. So
that's
next time
very
you're
cool.
there, take a look. It's to your right. It's really, really cool.
Oh, that's cool the way they're able to do that.
Yes.
All right, that was nice. Well, I know that they've cut the court up a couple of times. In fact, they sold signed pieces of the Don Haskins Center floor from the Bear when they had their first run. And this goes back to about 1990, probably 99 or 2000.
Yeah, those are always really good ways to do, charity auctions or just silent auctions, whatever it might be. I think those are really, really neat things. I mean, people always ask us, what about Cohen Stadium? What about those old seats? And are there any of those out there and stuff? So people like those things. I think that they're great to celebrate and great to have as a keepsake.
I agree, and I think that this city would really get into having an opportunity to own a piece of historic Memorial Gym. I've been telling UTEP for at least 10 or 15 years that they should take the original wooden seats, and when they take them out, auction those off, give fans the opportunity to purchase them for whatever purchase price it is. Look, they did it with Ebbets Field. They've done it with all these old ballparks and arenas. You could own a historic piece of Chicago Stadium with a chair, Yankee Stadium. Why not have an opportunity to have an El Pasoan want an original chair from Memorial Gym? Yeah,
that would be awesome. I mean, you think about all the history in this gym and that has been here over the years. So I think that would be awesome for fans to celebrate with.
No, I'm with you on that one. So as we get ready for tonight's matchup, I think what I'm most excited about here is how UTEP comes out. I always think that the first set will tell us a lot about this team. the good news is this is their third sellout that they've been involved in the last 3 matches. So it's not like tonight is going to be any different for them than what they've already previously seen in this tournament.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you think about it, Steve, this is a volleyball program right here that has had a lot of success in the NIVC. They've only lost 3 entire sets, sets, throughout 4 games in this postseason tournament. That just tells you the dominance they've had through this postseason run. So, yeah, you're right. It's got to be about that first set to kind of really set the tone. I mean, not trying to throw a pun out there, but it's really the case. And to get the crowd behind this group and to make sure that they come out the right way against Wichita State.
Were you here in 14 when UTEP played Rutgers in the Haskins Center in that championship game?
Yeah, I remember that very clear. I remember the run, remember the team, remember Keitha Adams' squad and everything about that. That was a lot of fun to watch. And the way, what I loved about that run is, again, the way that the city supported that whole entire community. So that was a really neat thing.
I feel a lot of similarities because I just remember that as the NIT, as they got deeper and deeper, the crowd started to grow and grow. And I remember Keitha at the time talking about how they had never sold a home game out for women's basketball, and she ended up getting 2 back-to-back, semifinals and the finals.
Yeah, that was historic right there, and all it was able to do. And I think that's why fans were so welcoming to Keitha Adams. That's part of the reason why they were so welcoming to when she came back here to El Paso, because they remember the historic runs that she had. She made history. I mean, when's the next time we're going to be talking about a women's basketball squad selling out the Don Haskins Center? It takes greatness for that to happen, and that team was all greatness. And you know what? This volleyball team is a lot of greatness as well, so that they do have a lot of similarities. 2014 out here to 2023.
Meanwhile, as the team warms up, you can hear the music in the background. That is designed. It's by design because right now there's about 20 minutes left for the UTEP ladies to warm up, and after this, we'll see the opponents take the court for their warm-ups, and that's Wichita State. And then they all have about another 60 minutes to rest after that, and then we get to the real stuff, which is the opportunity to see these 2 teams battle it out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm ready to go. I feel like you could start seeing the excitement from some of the players. They're starting to get locked in. They're warming up here, and that's just how it's going to be all the way up till we get started here at 7 o'clock,
that's
I'm
right.
ready to go.
Man, oh man, Chad Middleton just texted into the show and said that date in 2014 when the UTEP women sold out Rutgers, that was the day that they took their newborn daughter, home from the hospital. So That was London's first opportunity to come home. So it's interesting how certain days are just etched in memory, and it just so happens for Chad, that was when the birth of his first child, his daughter London, she had a chance to come home from the hospital.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great news, and I love the memory right there, Chad. I remember, I think I was a junior in high school, so I was going through it at Franklin High School, and then, getting ready for senior year. So I remember that very, very clearly. The year after that, of course, I started covering some UTEP women's basketball, and I loved all the interactions with that squad. The remaining pieces of that squad who ended up staying out with the team after.
No, you're right. Absolutely right. Hey, meanwhile, had a chance earlier today, I need to mention this, had a chance earlier today to stop off at the house, and I had Eric and his team from Decca Garage Doors over. They were working on the house and fixing some things for me involving a new garage door opener, some rollers, and some much-needed maintenance that I've needed on my garage for quite a while. Folks, I'll tell you this. There's a ton of garage door companies out there that you can choose, but go with the one that I trust, and that's Decca Garage Doors. Not just the professionalism and how prompt they are and the team, but I love the fact also that when it comes to pricing, and it's so important, their prices have not changed since the pandemic. Lots of companies have. Lots of companies have raised their prices and their rates. Not at Decca Garage Doors. They've done it right. Whether it's a new door, an opener, rollers, maintenance, they are one of the few owner-operated garage door companies here in the city. Not to mention, they can get started on your repair or installation. All you got to do is give them a call. 915-701-7355. That's 701-7355. Or you want to learn more, go online to DeccaGarageDoors.com. That's Decca, DECA, garagedoors.com. Coming back with more in a moment, but first, let's head out to Charlie 1 for traffic. We are live, Memorial Gym, hanging out with you. It's Sports Talk, 600 ESPN El Paso. Back here on Sports Talk as we continue. You know, I need to give a big assist for Dr. Heather Wilson's appearance. Both Drew Bonney and Jeff Darby made that happen yesterday. Ever since we came up with the idea that we wanted to bring Dr. Wilson on the show, Drew contacted Jeff. Jeff talked to the right people, made everything happen. So to Drew and Jeff, thank you very much. That is the first time that Dr. Wilson has been on Sports Talk. And over the years, I probably had Dr. Natalicio on 4, 5, 6 times maybe over the duration that she was president and I was hosting the shows. So we don't get this very often. This is, for us, we know how busy the president is. But when you're on campus and they're able to come to an event they're already going to be at, it just happened to work out perfectly.
Yeah, and she talked about it, prioritizing connecting with the community as far as her presence out here at Memorial Gym. That's important, in my opinion, just from, the media perspective. Now, if you talk about fans, I think it's important to them as well, seeing their president out and about and out at sporting events. She downplayed it, Steve. She was like, I don't go to all the sporting events out there. But she does try to be a part of the big matchups for all 16 sports across UTEP athletics.
She has a reputation for going to a lot of matches and engaging with fans. It's not like she shows up and just kind of sits to herself. So.
I agree with that completely. And she's somebody who I think is just really trying to see this athletic department have success. She talked about trying to compete for conference titles. That hasn't happened with any of these, programs aside from volleyball, cross country, track. That's pretty much it right there. Other than those programs, it's been hard to try to raise conference titles and conference banners for UTEP athletics.
It really has. Jason Craig's going to be out here DJing tonight. He's got his whole setup and all geared up and ready to go. Excited about that. We also have the opportunity to talk to Rachel Phillips from our news partners at ABC 7. She's out here live. Colin Deaver's out. And as we welcome back to the show, Rachel, for an opportunity to spend a little time with us. Great to see you first off. How are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, how could you not be doing great when you got a game like this going on in the city tonight? What a cool moment for the entirety of El Paso.
It really is. And for someone like yourself who's covered a lot of sports here locally but really never seen quite this kind of event like we're seeing tonight, it's got to be pretty exciting to cover as well.
Yeah, it does. I'm an emotional person. I feel like I've told you guys this before. I cry at things very easily, and I was at the game out here on. It's incredible, and I was thinking about how hard Coach Wallace and his entire coaching staff have worked for this moment, how hard all the girls have worked for this moment, for it to actually kind of culminate in that. I was just I was thinking about all of that in my head and how incredible it was, and the fact that the entire city is coming out to support. I mean, third sold-out game in a row. And I know so many people are like, why can't they open up the Don? We want to get in and watch it too. That's how many people want to watch this game. It's so cool to see.
So on Sunday, you actually had a special moment with Coach Wallace and his daughter, who made a cameo appearance. You had a fan who held a banner of UTEP behind you as well. What was that moment like? Just getting a chance to cover it from a media perspective for somebody who's put a lot of work in this program, and then you see it from a family perspective. He's got a family behind him backing this program as well.
Yeah, I met his entire family that day. They were all so lovely, which is what you've got to expect, right? When you know Coach Wallace at all, it's like, of course, you're married to a lovely wife and have 3 great kids. His daughter was adorable. I kind of just wanted to keep talking to her all day and keep seeing her do the UTEP chants. She was great. And then that fan came up to us before, was like, "Can I hold up the banner?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I said sure without even thinking about how long the interview was going to be. And then at the end of it, I was like, "Oh man, this poor guy, his arms must just be about to fall off," because it was probably about 4:30 that he was standing there holding that banner for upright, straight arms. That's a lot of time. My arms have been sore. But I think that just goes to show, like, I think Coach Wallace has made this team into a family, and every fan that kind of attends this game feels that.
Hours that this community just is absolutely starved for something big to happen when it comes to UTEP athletics.
100%. I mean, I think this fan base, every fan base is pretty hardcore for their local teams, but I think this one is no exception. And I mean, football, the last big season they had was when they went to the bowl in 2021, and that was obviously really exciting, but then still didn't win it. Basketball has been, doing better with Coach Golding at the helm, as well as Keith Adams coming in, and the women's team had a great season last year, but still no winning and no champions. And like, this is a chance for a UTEP minor team to bring home a championship, and I think that is just so exciting for this fan base. And you look up at that wall over there, there's one banner up there, and it says the 2021 semifinals of the NIVC. This is a chance to put a championship banner on the wall here at UTEP. And I was just talking to Coach Wallace. He's got the Texas Western T-shirt on right now, and I think a big part of that is because, that Texas Western team used to practice in here before they went and won a national championship. And, now his team's in here and they could go win a national tournament.
That's true. And Rachel, we'll see, but we've all talked about just Ben Wallace's career arc as a coach. And there could very well be a Power 5 that comes calling this offseason after hearing and reading about the successful NIVC role and really what this town is all about. So that's another thing that, you hope somebody like this can continue to stay and build the program, but from where it is now to where it was when he took it over, it's a pretty remarkable transformation.
100%. I mean, I know he came in 2019 wanting to build a culture here that made people excited about volleyball and got the city involved in it, and he has done just that. And not only has he built that culture, but they're winning, and that makes it even funner, I think, for all the fans and more excited to be a part of it all.
Rachel, shifting gears over to NMSU. They got their bowl game this weekend, New Mexico Bowl. It's against Fresno State, New Mexico State.
Yeah, so we're heading up on Thursday morning. I think they're closing all practices to us, unfortunately, both Fresno State and New Mexico State, so we won't actually get to see them practice ahead of that game. But they have all those welcome events, the team parties and the dinners and the gift givings and all the things. So I think it should be a pretty fun week. I've actually never been to Albuquerque before. It's going to be my birthday while I'm up there. Nice. So, we'll have to have some fun. But I think what an incredible, we talk about incredible achievements for programs. And, I mean, for that team to be going to back-to-back bowl games for the first time in 63 years, I mean, it's about as incredible as it gets. And head coach Kill has been at the helm of it all and made that happen, that turnaround. It's pretty cool to see they have a chance to get 11 wins, something that hasn't been done since that 1960 team to equal that. There's just so many things that could happen in that game to make memories and history for that program, and it's exciting. Diego Pavia, he's expected to play. He's meant to be healthy. He was throwing earlier this week. Then you've got Eli Stowers, their backup QB, who kind of does everything, wide receiver, tight end, all the things. He's meant to be healthy for the game, so really exciting. There might be a couple guys out because of the transfer portal and all of that. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but I think they'll be fielding a pretty healthy and fit team, and it could be a fun one up there.
So we already have members of the Aggie football team that are in the portal prior to the bowl game.
Significant players, too.
Yeah. A couple of them, Trent Hudson's one of them, obviously one of their top, I think he's their leading scorer this season. He went in there. We asked Coach Kill about that in a press conference recently, and it was a weird answer. He kind of was like, that's not over yet, which kind of made it seem like maybe he's going to try and keep him in Las Cruces. But yeah, there's a couple guys in there. I mean, that's just the way college football and really college sports is going nowadays. I think it's sad that they don't want to see out the season and play in the bowl game. But I mean, you could say the same for Sam Hartman and Notre Dame. I mean, I was gutted to hear he's not coming and playing, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I think, at this point in college sports.
I'll say this. I expect it from teams like Notre Dame, going to the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, for them, and for Sam Hartman, his agent's probably thinking, well, you're going a round 3 through 7 pick regardless, so let's boost up your stock in the combine, and let's get you ready for that. But for a school like New Mexico State that's trying to achieve history, that has gone through so much this year, that plays in the Group of 5 level, that still has to kind of play to prove something, it's sad to see some of those those guys hit the portal and not stick it out all the way through. I'm all for player empowerment, and I'm the first one to tell you that if a player wants to hit the portal, so be it. But in this case right here for New Mexico State, I have a hard time with this one right here, knowing that they have a lot to play for in this game.
Yeah, and it seems strange because that culture of that team, it really does feel like any player would do absolutely anything for Coach Kill and vice versa. So I was a bit shocked to see some of the names that did go into the portal purely because of that vibe that you get when you're around that team. But I mean, you can't, like you said, so be it. You can't do anything about it. I'm sure Coach Kill is going to try and convince those guys to stay, and maybe, there's nothing to say that they won't play in the bowl game, right? They still technically can. It's up to coach and players as to whether they do or not. And I think that'll be a big sign as to whether they're going to stay or not in the end.
We're talking right now with Rachel Phillips here as we hit the bottom of the hour on Sports Talk. We're live at Memorial Gym, about 90 minutes away from UTEP and Wichita State. Excited about the NIVC title coming here to Memorial. Did you bring your $20 so you can get a Memorial Maniac shirt with the $20 donation?
Do they take card?
They do.
All right, I got card. I can do that. I never have cash on me, but I can do it on card.
I have cash, and there is what the shirt looks
cool.
like.
Yeah.
They are nice. It's the navy blue shirt with Memorial Maniacs and then UTEP volleyball, which I think is very cool. It's, if everybody could be wearing those shirts and have a nice little navy blue out, that would be a lot of fun.
How many do they have of those?
I don't know. That is a good question. All I see was the box. Alberto sent that out with a $20 donation. These are the shirts that are going to be given out today to fans. So hopefully we'll be seeing plenty of these T-shirts here. We need to be smart and get them before the fans start to really pile in here.
Yeah, exactly. We could give our $20 donation ASAP on that one, and that's great. It's awesome for these fans. The big topic yesterday was the fact that there are people who come to Memorial Gym, specifically the NIVC, and who've worn opposing university gear. Okay, so that was the big reason.
I did see that on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and so that was the big topic and all that kind of stuff. So I get it from certain people who feel like that shouldn't be worn. So hey, for those people who come in with other gear of other universities, they can grab a Memorial Maniac shirt, like Alberto points out.
Yeah,
and $20 is cheap too, especially considering you're not paying much for your tickets to get in here. So
that's right.
$20, grab a shirt, you'll have that forever, and if they win tonight, you'll have a piece of history.
Yeah, it's like, would you rather have hot dog, nachos, and a drink, or a shirt? I'll take the shirt.
Yeah, 100%. You can eat dinner before you get to the game. You got time. Scoff down some food, get here, spend your $20 on a shirt. I shouldn't say that. I'm sure the food people want their money too. So they should buy food and get a shirt.
Hey, speaking of food people, Scotty Walden's been taking a lot of restaurant recommendations. What recommendations? He's not listening to this, but what recommendations are you giving? Yeah, you never know. You're right.
Oh, gosh. I'm thinking L&J's was the first Mexican restaurant I was ever taken to here, and I loved it, and I love going there. I maybe because it's a bit of a memory for me. That was the first place I ever ate in El Paso general, let alone Mexican food. So that one's one for me, and I think it's got a cool vibe in there. It's always and the food's phenomenal. I also like Leo's, Mexican food wise, and Riviera's. Like all three of them, they're three of my tops. But I like all the food in this city. People always ask me, "Do you like El Paso?" And I'm like, the people are lovely. And the food is great. And how can you ever complain about a city when you've got those two things going for it?
It's true. How can you? It's the way to go. It's absolutely perfect. We're here right now with Rachel Phillips as we continue on Sports Talk. By the way, I am getting requests from friends for shirts. That's like, get me a shirt. I will Venmo. The answer is yes.
I see someone walking in with one now. This is what's happening.
That's the way it needs to be.
Hey, I love Venmo. I love Cash App. I love Apple Cash. But I'm going to be selling those shirts for $25.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to give us a little tip with the $20, we can make that happen.
You're going to be you're going to be scalping shirts.
That's right. Maybe I'll get my own shirt paid for with that.
Hey, Coach Wallace said the other day, if people are scalping tickets, and I guess scalping shirts means you're doing something right. So that's a credit to this program.
What do you think about Scotty Walden so far?
I haven't met him yet. I was out of town, unfortunately, when they had the press conference, but he seems awesome. Somehow has more energy than Joe Golding, which I didn't know was physically or humanly possible.
None of us did.
But I think that's an awesome guy to bring in for this program, bring some energy and some life to it. And it's really cool to see. I tweeted about it today that he's offering a bunch of local guys places on that team. I think it's something that hasn't necessarily happened the last few years, and it's cool that was one of the points he came in his press conference saying, we're going to recruit the best guys not only in the city of El Paso, but the best guys in the state of Texas, and to see him following through on that already, I think shows a lot to his character. and I think that's a really positive thing for the city to see him doing that, and it's great for the kids. I texted Coach Torres of Pebble Hills today and said, Coach, congratulations, that's so awesome to see Marcus offered. He's one of the best kids, seniors this past year, great wide receiver, and really cool to see that Walden and his team is recognizing that.
And Gael Ochoa, they continue to honor his letter as well, and they want to do. They want to keep the best kids in El Paso from going someplace else. It's a good way to start.
100%.
Meanwhile, UTEP basketball starting to face a little adversity for the first time this season. They have not looked good the last 4 games. They look great in the first 5 games. What's your early impression of what you've seen from Joe Golding and company?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, I think we all thought that those first couple of games, after you got through the Div 2 and Div 3 schools, you saw those next couple of games, and it was like, oh, wow. Like, this team has got something going, and their offense was awesome, and it was like, wow, okay, this could be something special. And then obviously, like you said, gone on a bit of a lull, and the offense in itself is struggling, and turnovers really, really hurt them over the weekend. But it's Golding. I mean, if there's anyone that I trust to kind of get that program back, it's them. I mean, he's still got so many new guys he's working with, trying to figure out the roster, and I think I saw him after that game kind of say that, like, this isn't the same lineup we're going to go with this next week. We're going to switch things up because people need to earn their spot, and I think that'll motivate a lot of the guys to kind of get it together and make sure that they put a good performance out. But I think, the Don Haskins Invitational is coming up, and they obviously didn't win that last year, and I think that'll be a big thing for them, is they'll want to win that this year and get things rolling again. I
agree with you. I also think that Abilene Christian game is going to be huge. We talked about that earlier because he goes back to his old stomping grounds, and he wants to come back and get a W and bring it back to El Paso.
100%. You can't leave a school and then go there and get beat. That's just not, like, I feel like mentally as a coach, you're like, no, this cannot happen. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of extra motivation for him to get that win, 100%.
So you're sticking around tonight for the game, and then you're going to have all complete coverage coming up. Will it be not only at 6 but at 10 as well?
Yeah, 100%. We'll do, I think, 3 different live hits in the 6 p.m. show. That's how big this game is. My station's like, we want you live as much as possible. And then 10 p.m. we'll see how things kind of play out. If they win, which should we even say if they're going to win, right? We'll be going live at 10 a couple times as well. So, yeah, all the complete coverage on ABC 7 at 6 and 10 p.m.
So is there anything more exciting for you in the job than live hits from events like this? Is this really what the job is all about?
I was meant to be off today, guys. I was meant to not be at work today. I had a one-day weekend because I was like, I got to be at this game. I got to work it. This is what it's all about. This is why you go to the practices. You wake up early to go to the practices, and you work on Sundays and Saturdays till 1 a.m. in the morning some days, so you can be at moments like this and be a part of it. And, we get to know the players and the coaches so well. We talk to them so many times. So it's awesome for us to get to see them succeed, because you build relationships with them and you want to see them do well, and so it's really exciting because obviously it's not all happiness. Sometimes you're covering coaches getting fired, and you're covering a lot of really sad and things that you don't want to be covering in sports, and so you got to enjoy these moments when they happen.
So another part of this is women in sports and celebrating the this team in particular. There's so much light on the volleyball program. There's so much light when it comes to the football program and the men's basketball program. And it's always great to shed some more light on women's sports, especially when they have success at these high levels.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and I think Coach Wallace deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do to kind of shine these girls and make them shine, really. I think just the fact that you're getting sold-out crowds in here shows that women's sports is just as great as men's sports. I think if they were able to have moved this game into the Don, they would have had at least 8,000 ticket sales. That's what I would envision, right? It's like over 3,000 tickets sold for this one, back-to-back games. I would have imagined they would have got close to 8,000, if not more, and that just shows like women's sports is just as good as men's. I'm obviously a firm advocate of that. I'm a female who played sports my whole life, and I love female sports. I love men's sports. I love any sport, but I think it's great to see the community come out and support a women's sport.
We had Dr. Heather Wilson here earlier today. She was talking to us about how great and how much fun this has been for her because, again, she's a huge advocate of everything at this university, but this is the first real sporting event that she's seen with the kind of enthusiasm since she's been president of UTEP.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit sad almost to see that that's kind of how long it's taken to get a team to build this much excitement. But, I mean, those tickets for this game sold out in, less than 2 hours?
45 minutes.
45 minutes is what it was. And then you had the 50-ticket drop today was gone in, 5 minutes. I think I quote-tweeted immediately. I was like, get those tickets now because they're not going to be there for long. And they were gone so quickly. That's how much and how excited people are for what's happening right now with this program. And the cool thing is like, this is just the beginning, it feels like. Like, if no matter what happens tonight, they've built this community now, and you can guarantee that when this next season rolls around, these people who've got to experience these last few games and the energy and the excitement and just how talented these girls are going to be right back there for next season and cheering them on every step of the way.
Right on. Appreciate you joining us today, Rachel. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
We'll check you out at 6 and at 10, and looking forward to it, and come back and see us again.
Done deal. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Rachel Phillips as we continue live from Memorial Gym. Come back with more in a moment. 41 past the hour. It's Sports Talk, taking you up till 7 o'clock right here, 600 ESPN El Paso.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk continues. We are live out here out at Memorial Gym. Ahead of the big one, it's the NIVC championship between UTEP and Wichita State. Joining us next is the sideline reporter tonight for volleyball on ESPN Plus, and our very own Alberto Reta. Alberto, you wear a lot of different hats, and this is part of your everything that you do. This is part of your bag, and as far as what you do. So this is just another opportunity to be out here for a historic night. Give me your thoughts heading into this one.
Well, it's a really big game. This is a phenomenal team that the UTEP Miners are facing. Chris Lamb is a phenomenal volleyball coach. He enters his 24th season, and he has 10 25-win seasons. This was his 10th 25-win season, so he's a phenomenal coach. They have four Missouri Valley Championship tournament titles. They have an NCAA 4 appearance. They also play in a huge arena, so playing in on this hole, let's play at the Don Haskins. The Lady Shockers, they play at Charles Koch Arena that has 10,000 seats. So playing in the Don Haskins would have played to their strengths with the lights set up as they are. If you watch any of their games, they're playing on a basketball court in a basketball arena, so that would have just messed with the Miners and would have helped the Shockers win this ball game. So I expect to see a tight one, 3-4. I don't expect 3. I expect 4 or 5 sets here today.
Well, I got to tell you what, we're excited about it. You put a picture out a little while ago on your Twitter X profile on the Miner Memorial Gym Maniac shirts that were going to be sold. I don't know if you know this, but those are gone. From what I heard a little while ago, they basically ran out of the allotment for tonight. If they have any left at all to sell, they would sell them tomorrow. Although it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, let's be honest. You want those shirts for tonight because you're in Memorial Gym. Even though it's probably an evergreen shirt, that just goes to show you the demand we've seen on them already.
Yeah, that's phenomenal for the program. I mean, $20 a shirt. I don't know how many shirts they had. That box I had probably had close to 150 in it. So
wow,
that's phenomenal for the team. A big fundraising night for them tonight. Let's see how they cap it off in their performance tonight.
Steve, you had people reaching out to you.
Yep.
During the break. I had people reaching out to me. A lot of people wanted these T-shirts, and they're all gone.
Well, here's what I think happened, okay? They allowed people to make online donations for the shirts. And I think what ended up happening was they started getting so many donations from people wanting those shirts, they had to be careful not to sell them all out today. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any left for those that made the online donation.
Hey, money talks, man. And if you're going to put your money where your donation is right here, then you know what? To all the credit to all those people who donated and got the shirts. Shirts look nice, Alberto. I love the color, and I think it's perfect for fans out here who want to celebrate this postseason run.
Yeah, they're a great shirt. And you know what? Let's just take a moment and pause and just take it all in. What a great problem for UTEP Athletics to have. We don't have enough donation shirts to give people who are willing to donate to one of our programs to help it get better as it is than it is today. So that's phenomenal. I hope that's something that UTEP Athletics can build off of. and build off of this energy that's been created by this postseason run and this great volleyball team.
I'll say this. I mean, you've been in crowds. You've seen some great performances. And we also know just how tough it is for an opposing team to come into this venue and try to win.
Yeah, it's not easy when you get 3,000 people in here just absolutely making a bunch of noise for every UTEP point and against every opponent. It's great for them. And also, I think that one of the things that hasn't been stated is the commitment to the people after the games. A lot of people stay after, meet the players, and I think that's great to be able to have that sense of community and have that accessibility to the players. You know, you see a lot of young girls out here that are wearing their own team volleyball gear, and so for them to see not only a huge amount of success, but to be able to get close to the players and meet them and embrace with them and take pictures with them, that's phenomenal. I don't know how many schools do that, but I'm glad that UTEP does, and that makes it so that these donations just flow easier.
Yeah, it feels like, Steve, the theme of today's broadcast could also be how Ben Wallace has created a family-like atmosphere for volleyball. I mean, Rachel used the word family earlier, saying how it's a family within his own program, but it's also a family for the community that comes out and cheers on volleyball game in and game out. So maybe that's a bigger storyline going into this one. The fact that this is a chance for the UTEP volleyball family to celebrate one last game, win or lose.
I'll tell you what else. I love the fact that they're only really losing 3 players off this roster. They've got 4 seniors. One's coming back next year. So really, you've got 3, and then if anybody goes into the portal, that's going to be their decision. So this team could very well be intact next year, and as long as they're healthy, make a great run at trying to win a Conference USA title.
Yeah, and speaking about the portal, it'll be really hard for any of these UTEP players to hit the portal, I think, on an emotional sense. You make a deep postseason run, the city embraces you, you sell out the Memorial, you sell out your arena 3 times before the end of the season, right before the end of the season. It would be silly for me personally to think that one of them wants to enter the portal to go seek something better when the city has given you a lot, giving you all this support, and you guys have had this team chemistry that has taken you so far.
We've got 2 hours down, 1 to go. We'll come back with more Sports Talk Live, Memorial Gym, right after this. Start of hour number 3. Welcome back, everybody. We are live. Memorial Gym is where we're hanging out, along with Adrian Broadus, Danny Pedroza, Steve Kaplowitz. My thanks to Alberto, who was with us last hour. Now we get to move to UTEP Zay, who is back with us right now, the one and only Zay Galindo. Zay, such a cool name. You have essentially made it your first name. Congratulations on that. When you have a UTEP credential that has Zay as your front, you must be thrilled and realize that, everybody respects the Zay, right? That's what it's all about.
Yes, it took a while, but people, even at school, I'm getting Zay now, so little by little.
Remind everybody, including myself, the origin of Zay. Where did Zay come from?
Yeah, everybody asks me this question. My middle name's Isaiah, so, Isaiah, Zay, it just rolls off the tongue better than Nick. UTEP Nick doesn't sound, as flattering.
Is Zay a common nickname for Isaiah, or did you just adopt Zay?
It's a pretty common nickname, I'd say. Like, you have, like, Isaiah Thomas. I used to call him Zay sometimes. So.
He's Zeke, but okay, I like that.
Oh, the other one.
You're talking about the younger Isaiah.
Younger one, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
so.
it. Were you ever thinking of calling yourself Zeke?
No.
UTEP Zeke doesn't sound as good as UTEP Zay.
It doesn't. UTEP Zay kind of just rolls off the tongue really nicely.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I chose it.
I like it. You were here Sunday. You've been here for a lot of these big ones. What's your reaction to tonight?
Well, it's going to be a good game. You heard Alberto. I mean, Wichita State is they're a powerhouse, kind of.
They are.
So that's kind of what UTEP. I'd say UTEP would want to be something like Wichita State. Consistent success at a mid-major program. That's big. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's going to be a battle of 2 really good teams that probably could have been the NCAA tournament.
Meanwhile, as we get ready for tonight, and as excited as we are, you have been on the UTEP football beat ever since Scotty Walton got the job. So, first off, was Scotty Walton, I know you are definitely Team Brendan Marion. You weren't shy about that. A lot of us talked about, really, Brendan Marion, how excited we were. But Scotty Walton was someone we also liked. We all thought, if given the opportunity, could do big things. What's your reaction been ever since he was introduced as head coach last week?
Yeah, he has a lot of energy. He excites a lot of people, and that's exciting, right? I mean, he's come in, he's talking about, going to high schools, going to try food, right? He's already won over a lot of fans that, may have been on the fence about this hire at first. So it's been really fun. Recruiting died out kind of with the old staff down the stretch. So I was kind of deprived of some recruiting content. That's why it's been so exciting to see them throwing out all these offers. And whether some of these offers are really, even committable, I'm just excited to report them.
Hey, the offensive coordinator was named this past weekend. Why is it important to know that the La Tech offensive coordinators come in to help Scotty Walton call plays here at UTEP?
Yeah, we haven't, obviously Dana Dimmel called his own plays, so it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of dynamic works. And, he's a good recruiter. He has ties to the state of Texas. He can recruit the South really well. So I'm excited to see, if he's able to bring over any Louisiana Tech transfers from his offense. We saw a Louisiana Tech transfer hit the portal today. So I'm really excited to see how, that works out.
We know that there are more than 20 in the portal from UTEP right now. From what I've been told, a few of them might come back, but the majority of them are going to be gone. That being said, as they continue to offer players left and right now and host players for visits, have you been impressed with some of the players that UTEP is going after?
Yeah, they're going after a lot of FCS guys, a lot of FCS All-Americans, maybe younger FCS players looking to make that jump. So I want to see how that works. Once this roster is built out, if a lot of them are coming from the FCS level, how will that translate to FBS? That's really my biggest question, and I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
Walton talked a lot about how the foundation is going to be high school students, like high school recruits, Steve. So it's going to be interesting, this first recruiting class, the blend of it, right? Because you see the FCS feelers that Zay's talking about. He also talked about maybe you're trying to get some guys like the UCLA running back was offered over the weekend. I was thinking to myself, that's a big shoot for UTEP to try to get somebody like that. But that's what they're trying to do, get in more recruiting battles in the transfer portal and then mix it up with high school guys. Do you like that kind of blend right there, Steve?
As far as I'm concerned, go ahead and get the best kind of players you can go after. I like the fact that they're not backing away from some of these bigger names and bigger schools. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you're UTEP, shoot for the sky, right? There's no reason why you should just limit yourself. It's an interesting mix. I don't know how the best FCF players are going to transfer over, but I'll say this. Sometimes FCS All-Americans go Power 5. So there's no reason why, if you can't grab the best names out there, you might as well take a shot and go for it.
What do you think, Zay?
Yeah. I mean, they really aren't backing down. A lot of these FCS guys, they have Power 5 offers as well. So, he talked about that. We're not going to back down from anybody, which is good to see, right? You want to get into these big-time battles. And, hey, if you lose, oh, well, right? You put your best foot forward. You took a chance on a big-time guy. And even if you don't get him, that will excite the fan base. You have the energy to go into that. That's really cool.
So the one position they haven't recruited is quarterback, except for today we hear the news that Furman transfer quarterback Tyler Huff has reportedly heard from UTEP. Now, heard and offered are two different things, but Huff is somebody who threw over 6,000 passing yards in his career and ran for 1,813 rushing yards over his career, 66 total touchdowns over his career. What do you think about that name right there, Zay?
Well, yeah, he's a winner, right? He going to Furman, they're a big-time FCS school. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're in the FCS playoffs, or they were in the FCS playoffs. I'm not sure if they're in there anymore, but he's a winner. He played for a winning team in the FCS, and you need to bring in winners to a program that hasn't won a lot. You need to bring in that mentality that, hey, we're going to come in, we're going to win. And, he's a good quarterback. He does a lot with his legs. He improvises a lot. So, we'll see, if UTEP is really interested in this guy, or if they're just throwing out, maybe a hay, or maybe they just want to get, certain things. But it'd be exciting. It's exciting to see, them recruit quarterbacks. We'll see where they go in that position.
See, and speaking of players, look at Javon Jackson for Austin Peay last year. Sophomore, 1,300, almost 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. I'm interested to see if a guy like Jackson wants to follow Scotty Walden to UTEP and all of a sudden boost the running back room.
Yeah, he received a UTEP offer today. So, he'd be him and Aaron Dumas if he decides to stick around. That'd be an exciting 1-2 punch, right? That quickly you can get in a guy like anybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that can run for 1,300 yards. That's somebody you want in your football team. So he already knows, Scotty's system, which would really help UTEP, significantly. You see them, recruiting all these Austin Peay players. That will help Scotty, implement his system so much quicker.
They also have 3 receivers, 2 sophomores and a junior in Cam Thomas, Trey Goodman, and Trey Shackelford. Now, again, those guys all had big years, 700 yards, 5 to 7 touchdowns apiece. So, UTEP already lost some receivers right now. You need to replenish that. If you're going to need to grab the best of the best from Austin Peay's season and bring them over, it makes a lot of sense.
It does. And, these guys that you're talking about, maybe they don't want to follow Scotty. Maybe they want a new beginning, and they have offers to do that. So I'm interested to see, how quickly. I want to see, how quickly they're going to get commitments in, right? He tweeted out they have 3 commitments already, so I'm excited to see who that is. But, it'll be interesting because a lot of these guys, they have a lot of other Group of 5 offers. So I want to see if UTEP can win, recruiting battles like that.
What's interesting is, so we've talked about this a lot. Early signing day is coming on in 8 days from now. So, a week from tomorrow, that's early signing day, and that's when UTEP announces their full early signing class. There's 3 names that were solidified over the weekend, like you mentioned, Zay, but they need more of those names to come in. And I'm talking about immediate plug-and-play guys who can be immediate mid-year transfers, come in, join the system for spring ball, and be ready for the big, be ready, obviously, for what's ahead. Another thing that I would say, though, Zay, if they don't, if they probably also need like an ultimatum date for their current guys who are in the portal who might come back or might not come back. There kind of needs to be that ultimatum date, like, hey, we need to know whether or not you're coming or you're leaving.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I want to see how many players come back. Obviously, a lot of their rosters in the transfer portal right now. So
yep.
I'm really, I'm interested to see what guys want to come back, what guys, if Scotty says, I'm pretty sure Scotty has the open door saying, hey, if you want to come back, your spot here is reserved, but I'm not sure how long that'll be. Like you said, a date where, hey, are you going to stay in the portal or are you going to come back? We need to know.
At the same time, you had Cade McConnell with you and Lane on Friday's show when the two of us were out. Look, Cade's sticking around. He wants to stay. He loves the opportunity to be in the mix for that starting job breaking fall camp. And I'm going to be interested to see if Cade gets into a system with a quick offense where you already know you're calling plays every few seconds and you're not having to wait to get them called in right before the ball is snapped, what a guy like that could do in a system like this.
Yeah, I remember when Cade first got on the field, I think it was against Louisiana Tech. The offense was stagnant the whole time, and it was down the stretch. They put him out there, and he led a really good drive in a matter of maybe even a minute. So we really didn't get to see that a lot, last year, letting Cade just go rapid fire. So, he obviously, he showed out in the end of the year. He deserves a shot to compete for a starting quarterback position, and he doesn't seem like the guy that's going to back down, just because they bring in some transfer quarterback, some high school guy. Yeah. So I'm excited to see how he turns out.
I think the team needs to prioritize defense for immediate guys to play right away, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the rest of this early signing class be emphasized toward more of a defensive approach. But at the same time, if I'm UTEP, I'm really prioritizing wide receivers, knowing that they need to go quick. And Steve, there's a lot of offensive linemen from this past year that will not be back this next year. Elijah Klein, Andrew Mayer, Zuri Henry, all graduated. Stephen Hubbard, all graduated. So they're no longer a part of this squad. Justin Mayer announced his commitment to Colorado, so he's no longer with the program. So from the offensive line and the wide receiver standpoint, offensively, I think that needs to be the priority for UTEP. We'll see what happens, though.
Are you surprised that Maurice Westmoreland is sticking around right now because he is not in the portal. And he has a chance to be an absolute stud on the defensive side. And we look at young guys that have come in here and made the most of it. His stock was up last season when he got the opportunity, and he might be able to kind of take over. And where Tyrese Knight is now, his eligibility is gone, and same with Preza Mehule, all of a sudden you could get Mo Westmoreland as one of the leaders on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a versatile player. The last staff used him kind of like Jadrian Taylor, kind of that drop end. So he can do so much for a defense. If he's able to stick around, he's a building block for that UTEP defense. It got gutted also. It got gutted. They lost, a bulk of their secondary. They lost their 2 starting linebackers, just like you said, Preza Mehule. So if he's able to stick around, that's a guy you can build on, and it'd be huge for this staff to keep him.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at the major losses. You lose Latrez Shelton, Kobe Hilton, Justin Mayers, Elijah Johnson. You also lose guys like James Neal, Mikel Broussard, Torrey Richardson, Kelly Akari, Deion Hankins, Tyron Smith, Jeremiah Ballard, Torrance Burgess Jr., Marcus Vincent. I mean, that is a lot of players.
Okay, I'll ask you both a tough question. If you could pick one player to return on this team, with the exception of Mayer, who's already committed to Colorado, where would you go? One player out of that whole list right there of transfer portal guys, where would you go on this?
My first answer is going to be Kobe Hilton. He is a difference maker in that secondary, and when he is on the field, big things happen. You've already lost everybody else practically from your secondary anyway, but to me, Kobe Hilton is the kind of guy that can lead a defense, has a couple of more years of eligibility, I believe 1 or 2 left, so I'd probably go Hilton. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Kelly Akari. I mean, he had such a good season. He knows it here. They're in need of wide receivers. Obviously, having a guy like Deion back would be huge, but, running backs, as much as I hate to say it, they're replaceable. You can get another big guy like him. You can get, it's hard to find receivers. It's really hard to find receivers, good ones like Kelly Akari. So I'd go with Kelly.
I'd still go with Deion Hankins, guys. I mean, I just think that's the staple of your program from the past 3 seasons. He's one of the best running backs to come out of UTEP in a while. Durability has always been an issue, so I would bank on one more healthy season of Deion Hankins because at that level, I think he could be one of the best running backs, if not the best in Conference USA.
How does a guy who's built like that run a play every 12 seconds to where this offense, it almost seems like you need fast, durable players that can go, and go. And Deion is the kind of back who's built to run over you. But think about it. Deion's style of running. You imagine he tries to break through, and then immediately when that play is over, right back in the huddle to do it again and again and again every 12 seconds. I don't know if Deion Hankins and his style is conducive to what we are about to witness come next August, September, when this team takes the field.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, Deion hasn't run this kind of offense, a fast-paced style of offense, since the likes of his days at Parkland, under Gabe Herrera, the quarterback, and Hatib Lyles. When they were either doing RPOs, Gabe Herrera would just hand that ball off to Deion, and he'd run for 15, or he'd pull it back and throw it to Hatib Lyles, who just wrapped up another season playing FCS football. So, I mean, you're exactly right. I don't know if that offense is conducive to his style of play. I just think for what he is, a red zone threat, somebody who's going to score a touchdown in a goal line situation, or somebody who can get you 1 yard, maybe 3 on a 4th and 1 situation. I think for all those reasons right there, you put Deion Hankins, not to mention everything he can do for you off the field, be an ambassador of the program and a leader among some of the younger guys they have.
But at the same time, he was one of the early guys to go in the portal,
right?
Which made me wonder if his mind was made up no matter who would be the head coach.
Good point, and he's only received 2 offers thus far, Texas Tech and Tulsa. There's just a lot of running backs in the portal, to Zay's point. Yep. It's a replaceable position. It's sad to say, it's unfortunate to say, but it's just the reality if you're a running back in today's college football world.
Don't feel too bad if he's going to Texas Tech. He'll be making good NIL money, and he'll be playing in the Big 12.
Hey, good point. I definitely agree with that. And, hey, Zay, I know that, real quick, I know we have to get to the break, but I know you have a lot of UTEP women's basketball basketball real quick. Give me your thoughts on this team right now before obviously we wrap up here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're watching this team. They're still learning. They're still learning how to play together. They're still learning how to play under Keith Adams, and that's evident, especially down the stretch. I mean, they're up on Portland about 9 points at the end of the third quarter. They end up letting them come back, goes to overtime, and at that point they're just out of gas. And hopefully by conference play, this team, they'll learn how to play together. They have a lot of young talent. Obviously, Jana Sinde is one of the best players in Conference USA. So, you got to give it some time. This is Keith's first year. You're going to give her time to build it. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. So.
All right. Good job, Zay. Great to see you. Enjoy tonight. Take some great pictures, and always appreciate you dropping in.
Of course.
We got UTEP Zay as we get to a break. 19 past the hour. We are winding it down, folks. About 40 minutes away from the big one. UTEP taking on none other in the NIVC championship than Wichita State. Going to be a fun one, folks, as we send it over right now to Charlie 1. Let's get our first traffic update of our 6 o'clock hour.
In the El Paso Metroplex, the big trouble spot that we have is I-10 West at Yarborough. We have the crash. Right 2 lanes taken away. There's backup to Zaragoza. You're in the stop and go here. I-10 West at Yarborough. That crash really tying it up there. All the way back, traffic backed up all the way back to Zaragoza. So caution here. There's a crash also South Desert and Marne on the in the Upper Valley. So caution there. You're stacked up in traffic also. I-10 East downtown to the Reynolds area. I-10 West by San Antonio Spaghetti Bowl area. This update brought to you by Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. Leo's has a full-service bar. Over the first of Papilla, thank you for choosing Leo's, family-owned and operated. Go Miners, Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. I'm Charlie 1600. Yes, bien, El Paso.
Back here on Sports Talk as we continue. We are back here out at Memorial Gym. 37 minutes and change before we get started for the big one. Miners and Shockers going to be battling it out for the NIVC Championship. Again, if you were not fortunate enough to get a ticket, the game will be airing on ESPN+. Duke Keith won the call tonight. And right now we've got from the UTEP beach volleyball team, Associate Head Coach Daniel Fu with us. Coach, great to see you. Thanks for being here. And, man, oh, man, what an atmosphere, huh?
It's a great atmosphere. The whole tournament has been great. It's been awesome to be able to host and have people see what El Paso will bring out when you're winning and doing well.
How many of these players do you have right now on your beach volleyball roster?
Yeah, so we're going to bring out probably 4 of these indoor girls in the spring to the beach roster.
Well, you just went through year one, and we already know that there is a bit of a transition from year one to year two. So tell me a little bit about how that went for you and really what I guess the first season was like when you start to evaluate.
Yeah, I mean, the evaluation was we had a group of 12 players. Of the 12 players, 2 of our players actually had beach volleyball experience before that. So it was really growing and developing, learning the game, learning systems. And I couldn't have been more proud of my team. Tournament to tournament, getting better every weekend. And we actually got to repeat a couple teams, so we got to see a couple teams twice, which helped us evaluate where we stood. And we played better in each of those matches, getting very close in a lot of the matches. When we got to conference tournament, we lost a lot of those matches by 2 or 3 points. And that's been the focus in the fall with the beach-only girls was how do we get 3 points better, 2 points better? How do we start to win those matches that we were in but didn't win? And that was a big transition, I think, from year one to year two is now learning to win and not just learning the game. Like that was a big thing for the first year.
How many, since it's 2-on-2 beach volleyball, how many different matches are there within a match? Because I'm assuming you've got more than 2 players that are going to be competing. So how does that work?
So it's similar to tennis. We have 5 teams playing, 2 versus 2 in all of them, and you are required to rank those teams. So you rank them 1 through 5.
Gotcha.
Our ones play their ones, and you're trying to get the best of 5. So you're trying to get 3 wins in there.
Of the 5s that you had last season, really, where would you say your strength was? Was it your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, so on and so forth?
Yep.
Which team had the most success for you last season?
Yeah, our winningest team was actually El Paso native Maddie Hill and Marian. They were in our 5 and mixing into the 4s. Because of their success, they moved kind of up and down in that spot. But they had a lot of success, and like I said, learned a ton. And with a new program, you tend to see a lot of success in the lower levels between 3 through 5. Our 1s are good, but they're not quite to the level of a lot of the teams we played last year. But this year, I think that's going to be a little different. We're going to be stronger 1 through 5 and a little bit more compact with our competitiveness 1 through 5.
How is it practicing with you guys? What does the practice look like for you all, knowing that this is the first year getting acclimated to new facilities, being off campus, obviously, and preparing?
Yeah, we're actually on campus. We're over by the rec center.
Oh, great.
So we have a 2-court facility over at the rec center with plans of having a bigger facility closer to, like, all of athletics later on. But, I mean, practices in the fall are very different than in the spring because we're missing some of our bigs. A lot of our bigs come from the indoor side, so those crossover players don't practice with it at all in the fall. So it's a lot about kind of working on our offense and working on what we want to design for our team and trying to get them up to speed, but minus a lot of the big work that we would have, blocking and stuff like that. We do a little less defensive work and a lot more offensive-minded strategy systems building in the fall. Then when we get to the spring and have our full team with us, practices get a little bit more dynamic with the 2 courts and having more players on it. But we tend to work offense a lot. That's kind of a philosophy of mine is I think the serve-receive and scoring in serve-receive is kind of the most important part of this game, and then you work into serving, service pressure, and then defense falling into that third category, building that. And that's just kind of my own personal philosophy, but where I found success.
Daniel Fu, UTEP Associate Head Coach for beach volleyball, joining us here on Sports Talk as we hit the bottom of the hour. All I know is this. When you've got a 2-court practice facility, but you have really 10-plus on the beach roster, that is a challenging situation because how do you have enough space to really want to work everybody out to do the kind of things? We always hear, well, El Paso's got a ton of sand but not enough water. Well, you still have to make sure that you've got enough sand for everybody to work out.
Yeah, I mean the challenge is just being efficient with your time, being efficient with your players, not letting a lot of reps. We use all sides of the court. We work really at planning the practices and preparing for the practices so that they are efficient and they move quickly and get through players. As our program grows, though, we will need a bigger facility, like just the demand. And because it's a 2-person sport, you need more courts because you can't play with 6 people on the court. It doesn't make any sense for the game.
How do you help the girls who are coming from indoor go to outdoor transition easily? You mentioned the no practice side of it, but how do you help them kind of transition between both sports?
Really, we spend the first 2 to 3 weeks in January when we get back to practicing to really kind of blending them in, but it's a lot of the player help. Like a lot of the beach-only girls, that is a demand that I have of them, is being player coaches almost on the court. Is like you have to help them come up to speed. There's got to be a ton of communication. We can't be a team that doesn't communicate well. If we don't, they won't catch up. And that was something we did great last year. We did a great job of communicating and learning. Every single time we were on the court, we were learning, we were developing. And I think the indoor girls understand that and really bring that when they come out.
It's such an interesting way of looking at that transition because, like you said, you only have 4. So that means you've got how many that are just beach volleyball?
8 right now.
Okay. Perfect world, how many would you like to have on your roster?
perfect world between 16 and 20 for the full roster. That will include crossovers. But next year we'll have 12. And I feel like that 12 to 14 beach only is a really great range. And then adding some height and size from the indoor side is always going to be beneficial.
When you get the facility to start hosting matches, that'll be a game changer because then you can get fans to come in and watch. It's got to be so difficult knowing that in these first few years you're playing exclusively road matches.
Yeah, it's really difficult, and the hardest part about it is talking to the community, is like going out and talking about beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is not very well known in the region, and so going out and talking to some of the high school coaches, talking to just some of the fans that are like, I really want to support you. When are you going to host a match? I'm sorry, not this year.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, but we do a good job of streaming our matches. We have a platform called SportFeed that we stream all our matches. We send them out to our fans. We send them out to parents and things like that. We try and put it on our social media so that people can and have access to watching us. But it's really challenging to not be able to have a venue like this where fans can come in and see our success and see the growth.
So what we need to do is help build you a facility, right?
And
get that full facility especially since we know that it probably will be in a different spot than your current area is right now.
Yeah, I think it will definitely be in a current different spot. The area that we are at right now doesn't have enough space for the amount of courts. If we want to host conference championships and stuff, is what kind of our administration and I have talked about, is like down the road we'd like to host conference championships. That requires 5 courts, which is a lot of space. So I think it will definitely be in a different spot, and hopefully it's around here in the athletic area. I mean, between the Sun Bowl and Memorial, somewhere in there would be awesome. Granted, that would take away some parking spots, which is always challenging at UTEP. Parking is a premium.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of logistics and finding it and then having people help out and support us.
Could there be a way for fans to come by the existing courts to see it firsthand and just get an idea of what the beach volleyball team is like?
Yeah, I am a big fan of just having open practices. Please come out and see it. During the spring, we'll be practicing normally between 3:30 and 5:30. That always changes weather-wise and things like that. We try and be flexible, but that's kind of our time frame is 3:30 to 5:30, 3 to 6 in that area. If you want to come out and check out beach volleyball, I am a open book, and I'm more than happy to have you come out, check it out, ask questions, talk to me. I will talk volleyball all day with you, and I'm happy for it.
How is Conference USA in terms of the quality of beach volleyball teams?
Very, very tough. We have 3 top 20 programs in our conference, with the number 2 team in the nation, TCU. For the majority of the season last year, they were number 2. I think they ended up 4 overall at the end of the season after the tournament. They entered our conference this year, but only for this year because they're starting their own conference the following year. FAU is a perennial top 20 program. FIU is also a top 20 program. UAB and Tulane also are getting votes for the top 20. So we have a very strong conference. It's a challenging conference, but that's what I love, and that's kind of how I also schedule it. Is I'm going to schedule a tough schedule, which is challenging. It always doesn't lend for the best wins, but it does lend for us getting better faster.
Adrian, it's interesting, as Coach was mentioning all the programs, a lot of them aren't even in Conference USA.
Yeah, I love looking at the conference list for beach and realizing the quality of competition that we get to face in Conference USA, and we get to see in Conference USA. And the interesting thing from your perspective is you get to go all across Texas, and it's got to be good for recruiting as well. Saying, hey, we actually play the Houstons, the Tulanes of the world. We play and go out to Miami and visit FAU, FIU, regardless of the program that might be out there. But that must do a lot for recruiting.
Yeah, it makes it really. I mean, it has been challenging with UT Austin starting their program. But it is nice. Like, going out and recruiting as UTEP, it was faster than I expected. I kind of expected to have to go kind of earn a lot of people's respect, and we started the program, and we started getting a lot of interest right away from the Texas natives because they want to stay in Texas, and they want to have the ability to play top programs, and Conference USA offers that.
Well, all I know is this. Last season, you played in Tucson, Bakersfield, California, Hammond, Louisiana, Youngsville, Louisiana, back to Tucson, and then Fort Worth and Fort Lauderdale. So it seems like Fort Worth's pretty big when it comes to it, and Tucson, obviously, kind of a hotbed. Does Tempe also have a beach volleyball system?
Yeah, Phoenix is huge. GCU is a top 10 program. ASU just took GCU's head coach. So I think they're on the up. They're going to be a really great program. I have a lot of respect for Kristen Rohr. She's a phenomenal coach. So I think they're going to be on the up. Phoenix, Tucson, and the other part is that what people don't realize, those places are closer than going to Dallas or going to Houston. Like, for us, that's an easy drive to go to Tucson. That's an easy flight to go to Phoenix.
You're from Albuquerque. Does Albuquerque have beach volleyball for college?
It did. It did for a little while, and they cut the program. So I was coaching at the University of New Mexico. I was the volunteer assistant coach at UNM for 5 years, and they cut the program in 2019.
Oh, man. So now, for you, it's got to be especially satisfying staying in the area.
Yeah.
You've probably known Ben Wallace forever from your days when he was in New Mexico State. You're in New Mexico. To rejoin him here at UTEP and start this from the ground up, that's got to be pretty exciting for you.
Yeah, I've actually known Ben since he was at UNM. I've known him for a long time. He's followed the program. We actually had some exhibition matches against New Mexico State at UNM while he was coaching at New Mexico State, and then got to work with him. He called me, and we went through this process of starting this beach volleyball program here, and it's kind of been just a dream to do.
Fantastic. Well, Coach, we've been enjoying having you. Thanks for the time, and please come back and see us in the studio with some of your players during the year so we can keep tabs on how the beach volleyball season's going.
I can't wait for that. Thank you very much for your time.
You got it. He's Daniel Fu, folks, Associate Head Coach for UTEP Beach Volleyball. When we return, we'll take our final segment. We'll get you ready to go. 23 minutes and change until UTEP gets ready for the finals of the NIVC against Wichita State. We're live at Memorial Gym at Sports Talk at 600 ESPN El Paso.
All right, it is the final countdown here as we continue and wind things up. 16 minutes away from the match starting out here at Memorial Gym. I'm Adrian Broadus along with Steve Kaplowitz, Zay Galindo, Alberto Reta, Jason Craig. Everybody's out here at Memorial Gym getting ready for the big one, and we are getting ready just as well. Actually, if you can't make it out to tonight's sold-out match, I want to emphasize this one, and it's really important that we promote it in a big way, Steve. Duke Keith, our very own, will be calling the coverage tonight for ESPN+. So for all the listeners and all the people who wanted to come out tonight but couldn't get the tickets, well, Duke Keith will have it for you, ESPN Plus, coming up at the top of the hour.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Duke is the most versatile man in the business. The most versatile man in the business when it comes to anything that he has done broadcast-wise. I got to mention this because Andre in D.C. has mentioned this a couple of times on the app. He said, question, is Aaron Dumas still at UTEP? Because if he stays put here, Coach Walden has his starting running back.
That's a really good point, and I would say this. What's going on? I would say this. When it comes to Aaron Dumas, he was one of the best running backs in the city of El Paso just a few years ago. He actually, in the pandemic-shortened 2020 season, he had a chance to break Deion Hankins' all-time rushing record that he set in the city of El Paso. Aaron Dumas left to New Mexico out of high school, then had an all-conference standout season at New Mexico in the Mountain West. He ends up going to Washington. Steve, Washington's playing in the college football playoff. He couldn't break into that roster because of all the talent that they had across that the board, and now he's back at UTEP. Couldn't get eligible this season in particular, so next season, that's a big question mark. Can he come back at UTEP? Is he part of the future plans? And if so, UTEP's got their building piece right there at the tailback spot.
Well, let's put it this way. Aaron Dumas hasn't been healthy in a year, and really he was seldom used in Washington. it's going to be hard to find a better landing spot than UTEP and a system like this. So it almost seems like for Aaron Dumas, this could work out absolutely to his advantage, especially when you don't have Torrance Burgess, especially when you don't have Deion Hankins, and you start to realize that the running back spot has opened up, and you've got him, you've got Ezel Jolly. I mean, you've got a nice little core of potential players that could really benefit in this system.
Yeah, we talked about transfer possibilities from Austin P. like Jackson, the running back. We also talked about Mike Franklin. He's a complimentary back that could help any team. He dealt with injuries all season long, yet he fought through it and was kind of UTEP's number 2, number 3 running back in certain games. Like you mentioned, the 2 losses, Deion Hankins, Torrance Burgess, those are going to be tough to replace. But when you look beyond that and you think if Dumas comes back like they're projecting him to, that could be huge for this UTEP football squad. I'm going to try to find that one out soon because I think that's a big piece UTEP can bank on as they try to build out this roster.
It's a huge piece, and I agree with you on that. So hopefully that ends up happening, and then all of a sudden we start to see this thing really go into form in a big way once we get ready for spring ball to start. Because remember, that's right around the corner. In fact, aren't you almost fascinated? Remember, when Dana Dimmel took over the football program in the end of 2017, UTEP had no commits, none. And they put that signing class together overnight. It's almost like this is the exact same situation. They have to build it from scratch.
And I felt like when Dimmel built that roster initially, he had to get that headline guy. So Zay was just looking over to me right now, and we were just kind of talking over the break. Who's going to be the marquee guy? Kyle Loxley was the marquee guy for Dana Dimmel in that initial class.
Yep.
Remember, he was the number one junior college recruit out of JUCO. And that tells a lot about what Dana Dimmel did to kickstart the program, got an immediate starting quarterback in the mix. Now, whether or not it panned out, that's another debate. But I would say this, I believe that Scotty Walden in this early signing class will need to get some splash guys to not only excite his current roster, but excite the fan base getting into spring ball. And to your point about what Dana Dimmel did, what he didn't do is hit a lot during spring ball. There was not a lot of physicality in those spring practices, Steve. Not a lot of tackling going on.
You're right.
So I'm curious as to what kind of differences we'll see under Scotty Walden for this next team.
Oh, I'm fascinated by it. He's already said it's going to be the fastest offense we'll ever see around here. So, I mean, I've always dreamed of UTEP playing this kind of style. Now, the fun part is going to be who is in place to execute this offense and make it work.
Right, and I want to see, as the names started coming together, want to see how the roster really shapes out. We talked about the areas that they really need to recruit at. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I think the question was great about, the question was obviously great about Aaron Dumas and his availability.
No, you're right. Meanwhile, we are winding things down. We've got less than 10 minutes before we start up here. Joe Golding has just arrived. That is good to see, especially since practices are closed. Now at least we notice that the UTEP head basketball coach having an opportunity to come down here and check this out.
You know what? I'm bummed out, though. His son, Kason Golding, is in a sling, Steve, and I heard behind the scenes he is out for the whole season for Coronado basketball. I'm bummed out about this. He suffered an injury, apparently, according to one of the coaches on the football staff. Suffered an injury in one of the first weeks of football and then played the entire season with the injury. As soon as he got onto the basketball court, his shot was not the same because of that injury, and so he needed to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery.
Oof.
That's why he's in a sling. So, big shout-out to Kason Golding. I'm bummed that we didn't get to see him in high school basketball this year.
I'm interested to see if he's going to continue to play both sports. That's going to be tough because, again, the physicality of football is so taxing. We'll see what happens. By the way, more and more UTEP coaches are finding their way here to Memorial Gym, including the newest UTEP football staff.
Yeah, and J.J. Clark, the defensive coordinator's here. Scotty Walden, head coach, is here. He's got all the people around here celebrating in this big one. You got the El Paso music coming out. You got Jim Center here, director of athletics. If you're a UTEP personality, you're here tonight, Memorial Gym.
This is the biggest event El Paso has seen in UTEP sports since 2016, since the 50th anniversary of the 66 championship team when they played at home against Western Kentucky. You can also make the argument that the hype for this is even bigger than that. The hype for this game could be as big as that WNIT final between UTEP and Rutgers.
Right, I could agree with that. I could also say that when you talk about this being a championship game in a postseason format, that's what it's all about, right? When you're actually playing to hang a banner, we haven't talked about a championship in postseason anything for UTEP in a long, long time.
Oh, my God, you're not kidding. Because really, other than track and field, that has been the only championships we've seen around here in quite some time. So, yes, this is going to be a very, very big deal as we wind things up here on Sports Talk. Any thoughts as we see everybody pretty much filed in, and the atmosphere is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before?
I was expecting the atmosphere to be a little bit more tense. It's not tense. It's exciting. It's a celebration. It's a recognition for this whole season and what this team was able to do. That's what the feel is like here out at Memorial Gym. Fans are all smiles, and everybody's ready to go for the big one.
Meanwhile, I got to thank Danny Pedroza. He has been our MVP today, running the show from our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Property Schoolyard Sports Studios. So mad props to Danny for getting this taken care of. Adrian, happy that you've had a chance to be a part of this as well. And as we wind it up, a smiling Jim Center with two big thumbs up before we get ready for the match.
Hired a head coach last week in football. Gets to watch his volleyball squad compete for an NIVC championship tonight. I mean, it's a good time for this athletic department right now.
All right, so for everybody out here, Adrian brought us our whole staff out at Memorial Gym. We'll do it again tomorrow at 4. Have a great night, everybody.